Hello, my name is Lindsay, and I'm the Prevention Health Coordinator at CARES Northwest, and I'm here today to talk to you about understanding child sexual behaviors. What we know is that kids are often curious about their bodies and the bodies of others, and that includes private parts as well. And children learn through play and exploration. Learning new things is part of their development, right? That's normal for them to do. And so they may express a lot of curiosity about bodies, gender, and sexuality. Adults should understand that kids may say things or do things without understanding the sexual meaning that we understand them to have, right? And on top of this, some behaviors may make their body feel good, right? And they may continue to do them to self-soothe or to calm their body. That does not mean it's done with sexual intent. Some of these sexual behaviors may be really common for kids to do, but others may be more concerning or harmful. So let's start by identifying what common sexual behaviors look like for kids. The first thing to remember is that often in a common sexual behavior, it's done just to gather information. It's done maybe for play or that exploration I was talking about. And it may be exploring or having questions or making jokes about bodies. It could be about gender or other sexual topics that they've picked up or heard about, or behaviors that maybe they've heard about, right? On top of that, they really have this playful, curious quality to them. And they're done spontaneously and really easy to interrupt. So if they get caught, they stop doing it immediately, and they probably won't do it again, right? It's something that they were kind of doing for fun with each other, but now that the moment's over, they're not interested anymore. So they don't fixate on that behavior. It's also done voluntarily. And when done between two kids, they're doing it with each other voluntarily. It's not against somebody's will or out of force. And when done between other kids, it's usually kids of the same age who know each other pretty well, or kind of the same play group. They've been around each other frequently enough that they feel comfortable in that space. So they're not doing it with kids that they don't know or just met for the first time. And finally, again, they don't usually repeat these behaviors. Kids respond quickly and easily to redirection when asked to by an adult or another child. Again, these behaviors may completely stress you out, but that does not necessarily mean that something harmful or concerning is going on. Still, we want to make sure that we intervene when we see these behaviors, because this is a great time to talk about appropriate body boundaries, such as not touching your private parts in public or not touching other child's private parts or other people's private parts, right? Just as it's common for kids at a young age to maybe hit each other or roll around and wrestle, right? Those are still behaviors we don't necessarily want. And this is the same for sexual behaviors. It's pretty common for them to do these types of things, but we want to be able to redirect it and talk about what healthy body boundaries look like, right? So this sets up a great expectation for how they should treat their body and how they should treat others' bodies, which not only is going to help them in the short term, but also in the long term. When they have future relationships, they're more likely to have positive, safe, and healthy relationships if we are able to talk about it early. So how do we respond to these sexual behaviors, especially if we catch them firsthand? We see a kid doing it, or a couple of kids doing these behaviors or saying these things, right? The first thing we can do is remain calm. Having a calm, non-judgmental tone and nonverbal language is key. So make sure you take a couple of deep breaths. Again, you're a person who has your own emotions and your own reaction to this, so make sure you breathe in deep and then tuck away that big reaction so that we can best help the kids that are needing us to talk about it. The second thing would be when we interrupt that behavior, we want to ask open-ended questions in a non-judgmental tone. So that open-ended question can be, what's going on? What are you guys up to? What are you doing right now? This can allow kids to be able to tell their own version of what happened, hear it from their own perspective with their own language. If we as adults try and fill in the blanks and then ask them, did this happen? It leads them to saying only yes or no. And in that way, they may agree to things that didn't actually happen, right? We may become more concerned and also make them feel more concerned too. We don't want to do that. The third thing we want to do is provide clear rules for the future going forward. So we want to refer them back to maybe some body safety rules we have, or talking about our private parts and how we talk about private parts with other people. So you may say, thank you for telling me what happened. I want to remind you all that this is the body safety rule that we have, is that we don't touch each other's private parts. So in the future, let's not do that. And for the fourth one, this is where the next step comes in, is redirecting them, right? Again, if it's a common behavior, a common sexual behavior, kids are easily redirected, and they probably won't do these behaviors again. So getting them to change their attention and focus to something else, giving them another activity to do, and if you're really concerned, giving them an activity to do near you or with you would be the best. Now, there is a fifth step here, and it may happen a little bit later, and that's talking with other adults who may need to know about the behavior. So whether it's other caregivers in your home, or it's the adults or caregivers of the other children that may have been involved, it's important for us to let everybody know what's going on. So the best way to do this is to have an open conversation in a non-judgmental way, again, without blame, just saying the behavior that you noticed and how you redirected it and what body safety rule you really referred them to or that you have in your home. And maybe together you can collaborate around how you're going to handle those behaviors going forward if you notice them and if they continue to be concerning. Other adults can be really helpful in supporting you with this kind of uncomfortable topic or behavior. So don't neglect getting support from these other people in your life just because it's a little uncomfortable. It can be super valuable. I want to end by mentioning that some behaviors may raise to the level of concerning or harmful. We really must keep in mind if this behavior is hurting the child themselves or hurting other children or putting them at risk of harm, right? And so what does it look like if this behavior starts to be concerning or harmful? Let's name a couple of factors. Some things to notice about the behavior are, again, whether or not this behavior continues to happen over and over again, even after redirection. If that happens, you may want to be a little bit more aware of it and keep a watch on it, and it may be a bit more concerning, especially if it starts to ruin the connections that kids have with other kids, right? If the behavior is clearly or overtly sexual above the child's normal developmental stage, so for example, a 5-year-old who is putting their mouth to somebody's genitals, that's not something that they typically would think to do on their own, right? And they may have seen material or seen other things that may have led them to that behavior. We may be a little bit more concerned about that. Another thing to watch out for is if this behavior is done aggressively or forcefully with anger or even anxiety, right? So if there's a lot of charged emotions and it's not curious or just for fun, right? If any part of the behavior involves secret keeping or manipulation, we definitely want to be a little bit concerned. So if we have one child saying, don't tell anybody else about this, or else, right? That's when we start to be a little bit more aware of how it can be harmful, right? And if, of course, the behavior hurts the bodies of others, including themselves, right? If they're touching their private parts so much that they start to get a rash, that's definitely concerning. And finally, if we start to notice a big difference in the age, the size, the developmental level, or even social power of the kids, right? So if we have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, we may be more concerned. If one or more of these characteristics is applicable to the behavior that you're seeing and you're starting to think it may be concerning or harmful, it's best to consult with a professional about that. We know that kids who get the help that they need are very unlikely to continue these sexual behavior problems going forward or even later in life. So we really encourage you to reach out to DHS on the hotline or even call us at Cares Northwest if you have questions. Check out our YouTube page and our educational materials on our website for more information. You can find a whole handout about this topic as well. And thank you so much for watching.